program. I want to say one word about next week's program with Mike Carter and his journey through throat cancer. I heard Mike's talk at the SIRS last spring, and believe me, it is one of the best programs this club will ever have. It's a must attend for next week, and you will miss a great program if you're not here. He's just a fantastic guy, and he has a fantastic story to tell. Today's speaker is a former member of our club, and talking about something that's very dear to me, our Downtown Association. In all my travels in my RV after I retired, I'd come into these small towns in North Dakota and Minnesota, and I'd see these great downtown areas in these small towns. I said, how come my town, Livermore, doesn't have a downtown like this?
Come on.
And now we do. Last year I was at the Bankhead, and during intermission for this program, I got talking to people next to me, and they told me they just moved from San Ramon to Livermore. I said, why'd you do that? And they said, because you're downtown area. So today's speaker, Rachael, is the executive director of the Livermore Downtown Association. She's a graduate of Chico State. She's been executive director for the last 16 years. Has got quite a history. I'm going to not take any more of her time. Let her come on.
No Chico jokes.
Wildcats.
Especially since I was a preacher's daughter that chose Chico State. That's a whole other story. Okay, so I am thrilled to be here. As mentioned, I was a member, I think back in, I was trying to remember, I think it was 2003. But I just wasn't a good Rotarian. Hard to make the meetings, but you know, I left making the commitment that if I couldn't be a Rotarian, I still wanted to make sure that we were interacting with Rotary as the Downtown Association. And there's been a lot of great collaborations over the years. The one I want to really high-five you all for that we are just enjoying immensely is that gazebo at Carnegie Park. I can't even believe I remember when a few of the Rotarians came in and said, hey, you know, what do you need? We want to do we don't want something in downtown. And I'm like, well, I've always had this dream of having a gazebo at Carnegie Park. And that dream's a reality now, and it's being loved. Bands are loving it, the community's loving it, so thank you. So we're going to talk about downtown. Now, I am not the city of Livermore, so I'm going to make that very clear right now. And I'm not a politician, not running for anything. So we're going to keep the presentation today focused on what is it that the business community needs, where are we at right now, and what are we seeing for the future and really hoping for. And we need your support for as our residents and our business community in Livermore, whether you're in downtown or outside of downtown. What are the things that are we needing to keep going with this jewel that we have started, but we still have a few things to complete that and continue the polish. So if you go to the next, my beautiful assistant, Alan Frame, will help me here.
So in 2001 and 2002, the city went through a process where we had dozens of community meetings trying to figure out what was important to the community. First with what we called the Vision Project, which was the overall community, and that led to a couple of key findings. One is that the community didn't want to continue to grow outward anymore. We wanted to preserve the open space that surrounded the city, and that was one of the key pieces that there was a lot of consensus in the community about. The second was that people really wanted to revitalize downtown, to fundamentally bring energy back to the center of downtown. That led to our downtown specific plan process, where we had Friedman, Tongue and Bottomley come give us a hand, and there were several really key pieces to that puzzle. The first were the public improvements, and that made essentially this area here completely renovated from what it was. In the old days, of course, this was State Route 84. There was a 4-lane highway here, and we took that 4-lane highway that had gravel trucks and higher speed traffic, and we completely redesigned it with the pedestrian in mind. Fundamentally, before that, downtown had been designed for the car. So getting cars through the downtown quickly and efficiently was sort of the #1 goal. Now, in the downtown, the #1 goal is to make the pedestrian feel comfortable and feel safe. So everything you see here is designed to make that happen. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make the pedestrian feel comfortable. So what did we do? A couple of things. The first thing is that we took the parallel parking that was out here and we put diagonal parking in. The diagonal parking basically gives a bigger buffer between the folks on the sidewalk and the folks in the roadway. The next thing we did is that we, of course, when we did the diagonal parking, we narrowed from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes. That slows the traffic. So we're trying to do 2 very different things all at the same time. The first is to convince the pedestrian that this is a very safe place to be. And the second is to convince the driver that this is a very complicated and unpredictable place to be. So what that does is it makes the pedestrian more comfortable, we get more pedestrians, and makes the driver slow down because they can't see, well, is somebody going to back out of a diagonal parking space? Is somebody going to cross the street? So those things combine to make what's going on down here happen. So you see the cars that are going by out there right now. They're traveling between 10 and 15 miles an hour. So that's way slower than they used to come through here at 30 or 35 miles an hour. So how do we do that? How do we convince the driver that it's a very complicated space? Well, we did several things. The first thing you see is this second row of trees out here. So that narrows the cone of vision that they have. That combined with the diagonal parking teaches them that, okay, I can't see as broad a vision here, I need to slow down. And so, even great big vehicles like the one that just rolled by here are going very, very slowly compared to what they would have done before. On the sidewalk side of things, we added that same double row of trees, gives us much better shade down here, so it's a more comfortable environment. Then we introduced the flex zone, so the area we're sitting at right now, this outdoor seating. So why did we do that? Okay, well, at the very beginning, when we were doing the revitalization, we had very few people who were actually in our downtown. Now, we're social creatures. We're built that way. So why are we built that way? Well, it's a shorthand to make sure the area is safe. If you've ever been somewhere after dark that you're not familiar with and you turn a corner and you don't see another human being, the hair on the back of your neck stands up. It's protecting you. It's trying to convince you that you may not be able to see the threat here. By actually having people out and visible, you subconsciously believe, this is a comfortable place. So what we needed to do is get the folks who were already in downtown to be more on display. So by having the outdoor dining, that pulled the half a dozen folks or dozen folks who were already in the restaurant here out onto the street. Then when other people came by, what they said is, wow, there's lots of people in downtown. Well, those were the same people. They're simply on display. And then that basically creates a circle where more people come down, there's more activity, and essentially that basically repeats itself. So that was the first big piece of the puzzle dealing with the streetscape.
Okay, I want you to real quick notice that little bar over there, the blue bar. I have a little game for you guys as this is going on. This is to make sure, this is how I know you stay awake through my presentations. Since you love to sing, some of those may have a subtle line from a song. And so the first one to sing it out gets 2 tickets to the Taste of Downtown. So Michael's already thinking. He's like ready. I hear him over there warming up. So this first video was our way of letting you guys know how did we get where we are. Because I haven't found anyone that's not proud of that streetscape. That was our first phase. If those of us that remember, I started this position 16 years ago. And I'll never forget working with the PD to do a sting operation because we couldn't get people to stop at the crosswalks when someone wanted to walk across the 4 lanes of highway. So we sat on the patio by Panama Bay at the time, and as the motorcycle cop would go out and nail them when they just rolled right through, they had somebody step out in the crosswalk, we all stood up and applauded. So, it's just ways like something's got to help, something's got to change. I don't think the people that got the tickets appreciated it, but it gave us joy. So, but this was the first phase, getting this back to where we felt comfortable as residents, coming in the downtown. People wanted to be down there. You weren't taking life into your own hands to just cross the street to another location. And when this started, what was so exciting to watch through this whole phase is as soon as the city was interested and serious, we're going to put this streetscape in, that's when you saw developers following suit too. It's like, okay, if the city's serious, if this is really going to happen, then I guess you're ready for us. So we saw the Mike Maddens, coming in, and we saw Dave Corkle saying, I want the movie theater over there. This is going to be awesome. And you saw these things, one move instigates another one. This is our ecosystem. And I know that's something that's not talked a lot about in economy. You think ecology, or you're thinking nature when you think of an ecosystem. But that's something I'm going to touch on through this next few videos, is why this has to be kind of collectively looked at as we move forward, because we need to have a sustainable ecosystem in downtown. So the next, is it going to automatically play the video? Okay, go. Okay, go out. Let's do it. What got it? Okay.
So as you can see here, 2001 and 2002, we have a window, a door, through a window. So as you can see here, 2001 and 2002, we have a window. So in 2001 and 2002, the city went through a process where we.
I don't know why I
So as you can see here on the side, Rochelle, basically you have a window, a door, a window. Every 20 to 25 feet, you want something new for the pedestrian to look at. So we have the trees over here giving you a wall, making you feel safe. The trellises out there, and then something constantly to look at. There's no big blank spaces. That's the real key to keeping the pedestrian moving along. You're not trying to get them 500 feet down the street. You're just trying to get them that next 20 feet down the street. So remember just a moment ago we were talking about window, door, every 20, every 25 feet here. So this space between Uncle Hughes and Blacksmith Square is several hundred feet. There's no wall or edge, there's no plaza, there's no people, none of the things that draw people across. So with the project that Lennar is proposing, this area becomes a public plaza and public market area. That has basically commercial activity that draws people forward, and it has the people that's essential to basically heal this part of the urban fabric where we ultimately have a whole. That'll be a great thing that'll energize this space and connect these two things that are really successful already.
And that concept, how many of you go to Blacksmith Square? Okay, so you know how wonderful it is. So, but those of you who know about it, go there. What they struggle with is to be able to be, successful and energy-driven all of the time. So creating that, again, pedestrian connection between Uncle Hughes, who we all love. We know the fountain's there. We know the Uncle Hughes is there. How do we continue people to discover Blacksmith Square and create this additional pathway for pedestrians? So that's an exciting piece of the projects that you're hearing about, is creating that public market. My board president at the time, we went to our National Main Street Conference in Milwaukee, which I didn't know I was going to love Milwaukee, but I did. It was like they've done a lot of cool things in that town. And one is their public market. And so when we see this in pictures that they're showing us, we're not sure what does that mean. A public market, where I get really excited about it too, is retail is one of the hardest startups in our country right now, in our world right now, because of internet, Amazon. There's a real competitive nature there. So to be able to just walk into a brick and mortar as a retailer, and we're all saying we want more shopping, we want more of these opportunities, that is probably one of the hardest ventures to take on at this point. It's not malls that are competition, the outlets didn't hurt them, it's our ease of shopping in our pajamas on our laptop. So places like a public market allow startups to have an incubator where they can have a small space with shared expenses with other surrounding businesses, and it's going to bring us a lot of those amenities that we can get started, and as we make them grow out of it, then they're ready for the brick and mortar. So that concept, keep watching for more information on that, because we are very excited about being able to bring in a public market incubator system for retailers and even small restaurant pieces, bistro type things, to have a launching pad. So do you get the door window? These slides look better on my computer. I guess we're not compatible, Alan, sorry. It's today. So go on to the next one.
So one of the fundamental things we want to decide at the beginning is a downtown hotel. So from the very beginning of the specific plan in 2003, we had our economists take a look at the feasibility of a downtown hotel. At that time, bluntly, it was a little early. But they said over time, the feasibility of a downtown hotel would improve. Recently, when we went out and took a look at that, the answer was yes, we can support a high-quality downtown hotel. And in fact, when we went out to the marketplace and had actual real developers make proposals, that allowed us to see what would the marketplace build. And in fact, the marketplace came back with some very nice options. What does a downtown hotel do for us? Well, fundamentally, it brings folks who are visitors into our downtown. It provides a vibrancy because those people enjoy the downtown. They spend some of their dollars in the downtown. It's a fundamental building block that we built some of this around. So this site here had been previously talked about and identified as the hotel site. You can see right now it's just a parking lot. It's an oil change place. The hotel site was right next to the Bankhead Theater because that was seen as a very synergistic set of uses to put those things together. So from that perspective, when we went out into the marketplace and asked the marketplace where did they think the hotel should go, basically everybody who gave us a proposal actually proposed a hotel on this site. It made sense. Why is that? It's because the hotel can actually be a little bit of a separate use from the marketplace, mixed-use retail and housing that fits across the street on the west side there. The hotel use can stand on its own, and it actually is enough of a generator to generate and attract people to the hotel. So our current proposal that has come in actually includes a hotel on the site. It's 135 rooms. That'll be adjusted as we go through the design process, through the hearings, through the workshops, as people give us their input. But we're very, very excited that we have a high-quality hotel coming in, and that this actually is part of the plan that we dreamed of for a dozen years actually coming to fruition.
That is definitely one of our missing links. We hear that from the wine country visitors groups. We hear that from our downtown, if only there were a hotel. And more importantly, we hear that constantly from business travelers and visitors. I really wish you had a hotel downtown. Our travel, I'm sure most of you are the same way. We want to get out of that car and not touch it again once we get to our destination. We want to experience it as a pedestrian, a bike rider, through public transportation in some places, but the ability to not have to be car reliant in our travels is huge. And so we have no doubt this is going to be very successful. And one of the reasons that the Downtown Association and our business community is really endorsing the site of that is, again, we're creating Livermore Avenue as our new avenue. That's going to be a pedestrian leg on our downtown that you'll all have used to. That hotel will have a restaurant. I feel really confident because we're out there trying to recruit all the time, and so many of you love to either send me an email or stop me on the street and say, you know what we don't have? Why don't you get me a steakhouse? Well, if I could go like that and there's a steakhouse, I would do that. But reality is business investment is based on, are we ready? And when they're looking at demographic studies and they're looking at the neighborhoods that are trying to recruit them, they're going to look at consistent foot traffic, 7 days a week, morning, noon, and night. Now it's time for me to play. Most savvy restaurateurs, because as you know, restaurants, the majority fail within the first 1 to 2 years. Most savvy restaurants, they don't want to lead the foot traffic. They're like, that's too much risk for me. I need to know the foot traffic is already there. So these types of projects are going to be what get you what you keep telling me. So I've already announced to my board of directors that I want my retirement party on the upper floor, the open floor, on the restaurant by the hotel, because apparently there might be a pool out there too. You're all invited. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
Can I make a quick comment? The Eagles Hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheila beat you. Sorry, she screamed it.
There's plenty of room and it's a nice.
So scream it out next time. Okay, next one.
Why is housing important in the downtown? It's a fundamental building block of what we need to do down here. So what does it do for us? The first piece is it adds customers right in downtown. Now, this housing type is not for every single consumer out there. Not everybody wants to live in a downtown environment. There's a lot of activity, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot going on. But some people really do want to live in an environment like that. And by doing that, we put those customers right on the doorstep of all of the mom and pop businesses down here. Their competition is not some other city in the Tri-Valley. Their competition is the internet. Is basically people who just never get out and make that buy. By having people right here in the neighborhood, they're far more likely to make those purchases of our local businesses here and make sure that those folks make the transition as we actually continue to deal with internet competition and make sure that we're actually making it vibrant into the future. So downtown housing is a big piece of that. It adds activity, it adds intensity. Those are all big pieces of the puzzle.
What is the number one hot spot when we're out talking about this plan that gets people?
Housing.
Well, actually, parking gets them concerned. Housing can get them mean. So, and this is one of the things I really feel it's a generational thing. When you have white hair, now I can say that because I have white hair, I just have it colored. But we're from a baby boom and a generation that we felt, and we were raised and we were told we were going to get married young, we were going to have children young, we needed the house, the picket fence, we needed the 2 cars in the garage, we needed to have a playground and a school. Everything was going to be the American dream of this. And the generations coming after us are changing. You know, you made them mow the lawn. They don't want a lawn now. You made them wash those 2 cars and pay for their own gas. They don't want that anymore. They want to have a different lifestyle. And it's not just the youngins, because a lot of us that are facing retirement and looking at the big house, we're rolling, we're cleaning and we're still doing lawns. This is a very attractive lifestyle for the other side as well. We're going to be active. I mean, I was watching John Shirley. He makes me so nervous because he still leans back on the 2 legs on the back of that chair at what, 90 what? I almost pushed you back like 3 times. But we are healthy longer in the new culture. We're going to be active longer. We don't want to have to cook every time. We don't have to take care of the art. So this type of housing, I get it. You're tired of seeing it happen all over the community. I get that. But this is the one neighborhood that needs housing. So if you're angry about it elsewhere, I get that. It just bugs me driving by it. But these are going to be, when I mentioned the restaurants and things like that, this is the rooftop count that needs to be seen to justify a 7-day-a-week investment by other businesses and where there's retail, restaurants, those things that we're going to want to have in place. They're not going to be in your way, but they're going to keep your businesses that you value solvent and healthy. And I worry about the trickle down. We always look at a busy restaurant on a Friday night and say, they don't need us, look how they're rolling in dough. No, they're not. Talk to them about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Talk to the best waitress, or waiter that you love to have, and their struggles of being sent home on a Wednesday night on a shift. I've just lost a shift because it's so slow. I didn't get any tips. So we have a trickle-down economy that's hurting a workforce intensely. We're also pushing them out. They can't live here anymore. What is that doing to us? If you talk to our restaurant owners and even our banks, it's hard to find workforce willing to do the commute to Livermore because we price them out. They can't live here. We haven't built apartments and rentals in 25 years. We had a very anti-rent focus years back, and it's hurting us now because your workforce cannot live here. So we're pushing them over the hill into, Tracy, Mountain House, Manteca. How long is that commute going to be solvent for them and feeling okay based on their income? It's not always a long time. So we lose some of our best talent in this community because of lack of housing. So is this going to solve the problem? No, it's a Bay Area world, whole problem. But it's definitely going to help us start making a dent. And there's lots of great conversations going on between the business community and the city planning department. And I really, if any of you guys are having the issues with housing for your workforce, please join us in these conversations of how can we make that first phase of housing development that it only gets released out to local. You work in Livermore, you work at the lab, you get to have first dibs on buying these condos or getting these rentals. So they're looking into those types of programs now. Lawrence Livermore Labs, some of you are retired from there. You were working there at a time when you could come in, embrace this community, you could afford to buy a home and have a phenomenal life for your children and your family and your career in Livermore. We're losing your level of talent now because they're turning it down to go to Austin and Seattle and Phoenix and places where they can have an affordable lifestyle. So that scares me. We have a pretty important lab over there, and I kind of want the smart people there. I don't want to have to settle for what they're working on out there. So we need to be a little open-minded, I feel. So I'm not picking on you, but I know that we're getting beat up a lot on this housing thing. So if you can be open-minded, when people look at me and say, who would want to live in that? My first response is, don't buy one. You don't want one. So that solved your issue. Don't buy one if you think it's ridiculous. But think of your kids that might want to come back because they've graduated from Stanford and they'd love to, we got a cool town now. They may want to come back. Maybe there's going to be some housing options for them to live closer to home and be there to take care of us when we need them. Unless you're John Shirley, you'll be taking care of them. That's pretty much it. Okay, next slide.
So an idea we wanted to know time ago is why however housing is.
Sorry.
Rachael, turn off your mic.
So an idea we wanted from the very time is why housing? So an idea we wanted to know time ago is
That's weird.
So an idea we wanted to know time ago is why housing, however housing is designed to downtown, that was based on workshops, continue to get public input, continue to get people's ideas, is essentially this back area here that you see. You see that we have outdoor dining out here with the ale house, and then you see that we have the free-range garbage enclosures out there that wander around the park. So the idea is to ultimately get those contained, corralled, so they're out of sight, so they're where they need to be. And we still basically have the area for the outdoor dining and the outdoor activities. So again, working with the development to make sure that those spaces work, that they're actually useful. The other big thing is this is a working downtown. It's not a display downtown, so we have to have things like deliveries, be able to get product in and out. So that's the other thing that we're working on is all of these backs of storefronts here. We ultimately have the ability to get deliveries in and out, take care of the trash, take care of the pedestrian activities, take care of the vehicle circulation. So that's where we're just at the beginning of essentially doing the final design on this. So while we've been out in the community doing a lot of workshops, we're now to the point where we're done working on the details, and that's the exciting part.
Sheila, you got all excited about the garbage enclosures. No one else had that same reaction. Was there a quick question? So again, the backside, we lovingly say pretty up the back.
Microphone.
I'm so confused. Okay, so we jokingly call that video the pretty up my backside kind of feel, because that is going to be the the exciting piece of it, is some enhancements so that for those of us who do park in that back area now, you kind of, well, my office was right back in there, and I'll tell you what we see going on back there is not pleasant. And part of that's the garbage, and you come in on a Monday and they haven't picked up the Saturday, Sunday stuff, and it's like being at Pac-Bell Park with all the seagulls, because there's so much garbage back there. So that's going to be the beautiful thing of this, is planning ahead to be able to have the compactors integrated into the garage and being able to give them the amenities they need, but protecting them so that we know everything's still. Do we want to go back to that one and try it again? Because the entertainment went.
Turn your mic off.
Okay.
Now it's not working at all.
All right. Well, let's just go to this. We won't watch the thing. So I wanted to show you, because people, that's the other confusion. What is downtown? And everybody is really excited about this block. And so this is our downtown. My businesses are spread out all throughout this downtown core area. And we have created, as Mark mentioned as one thing, that door, window, we've consolidated it because it does make them healthier. But we do have 2nd Street is a valuable component of our downtown. So we care about the decisions that are made now. How does that affect how they continue to survive? What amenities are they going to be able to have access to? So we're not just doing this so that your theater experience at the Bankhead is better. We're not just doing this so that you can get into the ale house back door faster. We're looking at how does this project, as we move forward, affect all of the downtown business community. So you can go to the next slide. So this is what I consider the super block. People keep looking at the dirt and calling it a super block. That's a piece of what's happening. This South Livermore Avenue is going to become a pride spot for you guys. You love your 1st Street. I really feel that as we continue this pedestrian access, right now you have Koskrut, so many of you have gone to that bakery, and you had Divine Boutique next door to that. They have felt, they're like a floating piece, just like the Blacksmith Square. Divine Boutique basically had to hope people found her, because you see the independent building, you don't keep going because you think, oh, a newspaper office, that it must stop here. I should go this way or go on first. So Divine Boutique has literally just moved out of that spot and moved onto First Street. And her foot traffic increased in 1 week in 40% of people that didn't even know she had a shop in Livermore. So these concepts we're saying, we're not making them up. They're real reality-driven issues that your businesses face. And if we want to say we want independently owned, we love locally owned, keep the chains out, then we have to be doing our part to make sure that we build an environment that is sustainable for them so that the ecosystem I mentioned before is in place. They're like little plants and they need water, and the water is the foot traffic. So whatever we can do to continue that foot traffic keeps going. Okay, next one. I'm getting a lot of watches. Okay, so again, what we care about 2nd Street, we care about 3rd Street, especially 2nd Street. We've got some retail pedestrian amenities who are feeling left out. J and K, same thing. So we've heard a lot of talk about move that parking garage. That shouldn't be there. Put it over on Railroad. That is thinking of, that helps me get to my one place or my 2 places I go. We want this to feed everybody. This is going to be where you're going to walk through and you're going to make it onto J to get to Strizzi's, and you're going to make it to Riata, and you're going to make it to the Rosetta, if you haven't been there, amazing, to that coffee shop. So this is placed perfectly to make sure that we are integrating that parking system with the entire downtown business community so that everybody wins on this one. It's also going to be hidden. You're not going to be driving by looking at a parking lot. Housing that everybody's a little freaked out about, not everybody, but some are freaked out about. The good thing about this is it's going to be lining L Street and Railroad. That's not your pedestrian area. It's kind of tucked away, feeding into the downtown, but this is your pedestrian area. First Street is your pedestrian area. As soon as the growth site starts, it sells, I guess it's selling and it's going to have development, that will have more retail. That'll tie us to Zephyr. So it's a big plan for a full downtown, and I will stop.
Probably out of time for questions, but if you could stick around if people have questions, because I know a lot of people have to get back to work here. So very quickly, there's got to be somebody going back to work here. Just Sheila, okay. Okay, the drawing today, Sam, you're listening, is 1775. And you've already heard